Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something a little different this time. We've got this collection of excerpts, and they all revolve around this place called Ravenshollow.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's this forgotten village, right? And the centerpiece of it all is this, well, it's the sealed crypt.
A sealed crypt. Okay, you've got my attention.
Yeah, so we're talking ancient curses, a team of researchers who, can't resist a good mystery, and this lurking darkness just waiting to be unleashed.
It sounds like we're in for a spooky one.
Oh, definitely. So, to set the scene, right, Ravenshollow itself, it's described as this isolated village, shrouded in mist, with this kind of dilapidated church right at its heart.
Uh-huh. I'm getting some serious Gothic vibes already.
Right. And you get this feeling from the excerpts that Ravenshollow is almost like a character itself.
Oh, absolutely. That sense of place, the isolation, it's crucial to setting that mood, that atmosphere.
Exactly. And before the researchers even get to the crypt, they run into this old villager who gives them a pretty stark warning.
What's he say?
He's like, leave the crypt alone. It's cursed. Like, straight up, no messing around.
You know, it's funny how in these stories, the locals always know the truth, but
But nobody listens.
exactly, they dismiss it as superstition, but as we'll see, those fears, well, they're definitely not unfounded.
Yeah, so the team, they find the crypt entrance beneath the church altar, sealed with this massive stone slab.
Okay, so they're already ignoring warning number one.
Yeah, they're like full steam ahead. And then, to make matters worse, there's this inscription carved above the entrance. It reads, "Here lies the betrayer. Do not disturb, lest the darkness awaken."
Oof. That's not ominous at all, right? Talk about foreshadowing.
Right. It's like a giant neon sign flashing, danger.
Danger. But of course, they're researchers, so their curiosity just gets even more piqued.
Well, yeah, it's that classic dilemma, the desire for knowledge. It can be a powerful motivator.
Oh, absolutely. But sometimes it leads you down a path you really shouldn't be on.
Exactly. So let's talk about the team. Leading the charge is Dr. Eleanor Graves. She's our, intrepid archaeologist, driven by this thirst for knowledge.
Always got to have one of those.
Oh, yeah. And her team's pretty interesting, too. There's Alex, the skeptical assistant.
Uh-huh, the voice of reason.
Exactly. Then there's Maria, the meticulous historian. She's got all this knowledge about the region, the folklore, the legends, all that stuff.
Right, the one who pieces it all together.
Yeah. And finally, we have David, the logistics expert. He's there to, make sure they don't end up becoming permanent residents of the crypt.
Always good to have someone thinking practically, especially in situations like this.
Oh, for sure. So they get into the crypt, and what do they find?
Don't tell me, another inscription.
Well, yes, but also a sealed stone coffin right in the center of the chamber.
I swear these people are just asking for trouble. A sealed coffin. Come on, who wouldn't open that?
Right. So, of course, they break the seal, and inside they find a perfectly preserved body.
Wow. Like, how perfectly preserved are we talking?
Like, picture this. Pale skin, not a blemish on him. Eyes open, and get this, unnervingly lifelike.
Ugh, that's just
Yeah.
creepy. It's like stepping back in time, but in the worst way possible.
Exactly. And that's when things start to get, well, weird.
Weird how?
Maria starts hearing whispers. Equipment malfunctions. They keep seeing shadows moving in the corners of their eyes.
Oh, no. It's starting, isn't it? That creeping dread, the feeling that something's not right.
Yeah, the atmosphere just gets thicker, like something's watching them.
The excerpts do a great job of building that suspense. It's not, in-your-face horror. It's subtle, psychological.
Yeah, and then bam, David disappears.
Wait, what? Just gone.
Vanished without a trace. One minute he's there, the next he's not.
Okay, that's officially terrifying. No more creepy whispers. We've moved on to full-blown disappearances.
Right. And to make matters worse, a storm rolls in, washes out the road, so they're trapped.
Oh no, the classic no escape scenario. It's every horror movie fan's worst nightmare.
And then Maria, she starts acting really strange. Withdrawn, speaking in riddles. It's almost like she's in a trance.
Oh, so it's not just physical threats they have to worry about, but psychological manipulation too.
Right. It's like whatever they've woken up, it's messing with their minds.
This is getting really good. This is that kind of horror that really gets under your skin.
But then, amidst all the chaos, Alex stumbles upon this hidden journal in the church library.
A journal? Whose is it?
Well, it belonged to the priest who oversaw the crypt's construction.
Bingo. Now we're talking. This could be the key to understanding what's going on.
We can only hope. But I think we're going to have to save that juicy reveal for part 2 of our deep dive.
Oh, you're killing me. I can't wait to see what secrets that journal holds.
You and me both. So until then, everyone, stay tuned.
And keep the lights on.
All right, so that priest's journal, right, well, it's a doozy.
Oh, I bet. Spill the tea.
Okay, so it turns out this priest, he wasn't exactly a saint, he was obsessed with power.
Oh, I'm sensing a butt coming.
Oh, a big one. He thought he could, cheat death, control life and death, the whole 9 yards.
Classic case of playing God, huh?
Yeah, and to do it, he made a pact with a malevolent entity.
Whoa, okay. Things just took a dark turn. And I thought we were already in a crypt.
Right, so this pact, it backfires spectacularly.
Yep.
Instead of bringing, prosperity and all that good stuff to Ravenshollow, it unleashes this plague.
A plague. Like a literal plague.
Yeah, people are dying, going mad. The whole village is just consumed by this darkness.
So it's like his ambition, his desire for power, it brought about the exact opposite of what he intended.
Exactly. The entity was feeding on their fear, their despair. It was like this vicious cycle.
I mean, talk about unintended consequences, right?
Yeah.
It's a good reminder that messing with forces you don't understand, it rarely ends well.
Oh, for sure. So the villagers, they realize what's happening and they rise up against the priest.
They saw him for what he really was, huh? The betrayer.
Yeah, and they managed to seal him and the entity inside the crypt.
A temporary fix, I'm guessing?
Oh, yeah. They knew they couldn't destroy it, only contain it, like shoving it back in a box and hoping for the best.
But as we know, that box has been opened.
And the consequences are, well, pretty dire.
So let's talk about Maria. What happens to her?
Well, remember how she was acting all strange, like in a trance?
Uh-huh. Definitely didn't seem like her usual self.
Well, it seems the entity was using her, drawing her in.
Like preying on her fascination with history and all that.
Yeah, she's drawn to the crypt at night, almost like she's being, well, led there.
This doesn't sound good.
It isn't. Eleanor and Alex find her the next morning, lifeless.
Oh, no. That's awful.
Yeah, it's a turning point in the story, The stakes get even higher. It's not just about creepy whispers anymore. This entity, it can kill.
It makes the threat real, tangible. Up until this point, it's been all atmosphere and suspense, but now it's clear that this thing is dangerous.
And they're down to 2, facing this ancient evil, trapped in this village with a washed-out road.
So what do? How do they fight back against something like that?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? And to make matters worse, they realize something truly terrifying.
What's that?
The entity, it feeds on their fear.
Oh, no. That's like the worst possible scenario. The more they panic, the stronger it gets.
Exactly. It's like it's fueled by their terror.
I'm getting chills just thinking about it. It's that kind of horror that really gets to you, The idea that your own fear is your enemy's greatest weapon.
Yeah, it's pretty bleak. But Eleanor, she's not giving up. She goes back to the priest's journal, searching for any clue, anything that might help them defeat this thing.
She's got to have something up her sleeve, right? I mean, she is the expert here.
Well, let's just say the priest's journal, it has one more surprise in store for them.
Okay, you're really good at these cliffhangers. You know that, right?
Hey, gotta keep you coming back for more. But seriously, you won't want to miss the conclusion of this deep dive. The final showdown is, well, it's epic. Okay, so picture this, right? Eleanor, she's hunched over this journal, the weight of, well, everything just crushing her.
Yeah, it's got to be a lot to process knowing what they know now.
Totally. And then, bam, she finds this passage. It talks about how to contain the entity.
Contain, so not destroy.
Yeah, the priest, he learned the hard way that this thing, it can't be destroyed, only trapped, put back in its box, so to speak.
Okay, but how do they do that?
Well, according to the journal, it requires a sacrifice. A pure soul offered as a vessel to trap the darkness.
Whoa, hold on. A sacrifice? That's pretty intense.
Yeah, and it gets worse. The sacrifice, it has to be willing. The entity, it feeds on fear, on resistance. A terrified victim, well, it just makes the entity stronger.
So they can't just, trick it.
Nope. It has to be a genuine sacrifice. And that's the dilemma, right? How can Eleanor, after losing Maria, even contemplate sacrificing someone else?
Yeah, that's a heavy burden to bear. Knowing that someone has to die to stop this thing.
For a while, she thinks about offering herself, But she remembers that passage about the sacrifice needing to be willing at peace.
Makes sense. If she goes in terrified, it'll just make the entity even more powerful.
Exactly. So she comes up with this plan. She's going to use the priest's journal, Maria's translations, to create a ritual, a way to lure the entity back into the coffin, but without becoming its prey.
Sounds risky.
Oh, it definitely is. She's basically using herself as bait, a beacon, to draw the darkness back to its prison.
And it's like she's not just an archaeologist anymore. She's a warrior facing down this ancient evil.
Yeah, and she's not running from it. She's facing it head on.
That takes guts.
So she performs the ritual. The atmosphere in the crypt, it changes. Shadows are dancing, the air gets cold, and there's this feeling of pure dread, like the entity is right there watching.
Okay, I'm getting goosebumps just listening to this.
And then it appears, not as some monster or shadowy figure, but this swirling vortex of darkness, like pure malevolence, right?
Ugh, it's like the embodiment of all their fears, all the darkness that's been building up.
But Eleanor, she doesn't flinch. She stands firm, reciting these ancient words, her eyes locked on the vortex.
It's like in that moment, she transcends her fear. She's not a victim. She's a conduit, a force to be reckoned with.
And the entity, it's drawn to her, to the ritual, to her lack of fear. It surges towards her, but instead of consuming her, it's pulled into the coffin like a magnet.
So it works. She trapped it.
Yeah, the swirling darkness, it vanishes, the air grows still. The only sound is Eleanor's ragged breathing.
Wow. What a moment. But what about Eleanor? Is she okay?
Well, the excerpts, they don't really tell us. The villagers, they come back, find the crypt sealed once more, but there's no sign of Eleanor or Alex.
So we don't know if she survived.
It's left ambiguous. Did she manage to escape before collapsing? Did she become one with the darkness, her sacrifice ensuring the safety of everyone else? We're left to wonder.
It's kind of fitting in a way, right? I mean,
Yeah.
its story started with a mystery and it ends with one. It's like some secrets, they're just meant to stay buried.
Yeah, it's a reminder that sometimes, even when we think we've won, the darkness, it's still out there, lurking in the shadows. And who knows, maybe, just maybe, it'll find a way out again someday.
Well, that's a chilling thought to end on. I think I need a nightlight after that deep dive.
You and me both. But hey, that's the power of a good story, right? It stays with you long after you finish reading it, or in this case, listening to us talk about it.
Absolutely. And I think the story of Ravenshollow, it has a lot to say about ambition, about the dangers of unchecked power, and the consequences of tampering with forces we don't understand.
Totally. And it reminds us that knowledge, it can be a powerful tool, but it can also come at a steep price. Sometimes the secrets we uncover, well, they're better left buried.
Wise words to live by. So, to all our listeners out there, stay curious, but be careful what you dig up. You never know what darkness might be waiting for you.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time.
Until then, sleep tight. And don't forget to check under the bed.